Let's wait for the noise to go by. Okay, look at me talking crap now. Question number... Hello, my friends. My name is Ingrid, and this is Ingrid Reads a Lot. For today's video, I thought it would be fun to do this book tag that I randomly found on YouTube. It's called the book recommendation tag, and I thought that the questions were fun, and I did watch a couple of videos on this tag, and I noticed a lot of the books that were answered for certain things were books that like I had never even heard of before, so I was sort of surprised that I never heard of these books. I also thought that this would be fun for me to do because my answers are going to be very different. I'm going to look down at the questions, and if I look down, that's why, but let's get started because it's a long tag and I don't want to be here forever. You guys also don't want to watch forever, so yeah. Also, another disclaimer, which, I mean, is it me if there's not a 50,000 disclaimers? I am going to try to answer different books than what I keep talking about recently. So I thought of books that I haven't talked about before so that it's not boring. So that if you've watched my videos, you know, like she talks about this book all the time. So that's why. Okay, let's get started. Question number 1 is a book you tell people that it's your favorite. And obviously I have many favorites because like who has only one favorite? But one of my favorites, and this is something I recommend to people that don't really read and are starting to get into reading, like people in my real life, is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think that this is a really good fiction, and it's very capturing. Like when you're reading this, you're reading about Evelyn's life and her 7 husbands, and very interesting. And there's like the whole 1950s movie era, golden era of film and stuff. So I think it's a very interesting fiction for someone that doesn't necessarily read. Okay, and then question number 2 is a book that is your guilty pleasure. I'm gonna say for this, where is, oh my god, it's all the way up there. Please hold. Alright, my guilty pleasure is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. I love her books. This is one of the books that when I started reading this, I really got into it, and it's one of those books that will be my forever favorite because of that nostalgia factor. This isn't necessarily the best fantasy out there. I just love it. And I could answer this book for many questions in this tag, but I'm going to say it for this one. And this is a special cover I bought somewhere, I don't remember where, but. And then question number 3 is a book everyone loves but you didn't. That for me is another Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is Daisy Jones and the Six. This was the book right after Evelyn Hugo, and I read this thinking, oh my god, I loved Evelyn Hugo, I'm gonna love this, and I didn't. This is about a band, and it's kind of like in the future, the band that broke up is being interviewed about their time in the band and kind of what led to them breaking up. This is done in interview format, which I think a lot of people enjoy, but I just didn't like this. I think it wasn't really well done, and one of my biggest gripes with this is that there are 6 people in the band, or 7 if you count Daisy. They are all being interviewed for this book, like in the book, but 3 of the people's perspectives like add nothing to this book, and I don't like that. I mean, she should have, I don't know, maybe done like Daisy Jones and the 3 then, or but you know what I mean, like it just doesn't make sense. I think Daisy Jones and the 6 makes sense, but I just didn't like, some of the characters were filler, and I don't like that. A lot of other things that were in this book I didn't enjoy, so yeah, I didn't like this, and I'm in the minority because I think a lot of people that read this enjoyed this. At the time, I remember seeing it all over the internet. Question number 4. A book you read the fastest, and that will be Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And this is one of the books that I have been talking about a lot lately, but from my recent memory that I can recall, I read this in pretty much a day and a half. And it's a chunker. It's like 500 something pages. So I have to say this because I can't think of anything else that I read really fast. Fantasy book, I've made a video about it. If you're curious, I will link it up above. But it's all over the internet. I'm sure you've heard about it. It has dragons. Question number 5 is a book that deserves more hype. For this, I picked The Final Revival of Opal and Eve by Dawnie Walton. This is what, okay, look at me talking crap now. This is what I wish Daisy Jones and the Six was. This is the same kind of format where it's talking about a band. This is a duo and they broke up, and basically they're being interviewed. This is at the majority in the 70s when this duo was really famous and they broke up. In like 2016, they're being interviewed, and Opal is considering a reunion with her counterpart Neve. There is a journalist sort of interviewing them and you're kind of following the story of what happened. This is really, really good. Nothing in this was filler. And if you enjoy audiobooks, the audiobook for this, the narrator is amazing. There are multiple narrators, but the narrator for Opal specifically was really good. So yeah. And then question number 6 is a book that is becoming a movie or a TV show. I'm gonna say became a TV show. And that is the Silo series. The first book being Wool, and the author, his name is what? Hugh Howey. This is a sci-fi series. I admittedly have not read the books yet. I did watch the show, and that's how I found out it was a book series. I had no idea, but the TV show is so good that now I want to go back and read the books. I'm just giving myself some time to distance myself from the show and sort of like what happens, so that I'm not constantly reading the book and thinking about the show. Does that make sense? Because I want to kind of forget what happens so I can go into the book. Obviously I know what's going to happen, but sort of with more of an open mind. And the TV show is amazing, so if you are curious, I suggest you go watch it. It's on Apple TV. And number 7, a book that you have reread the most. And for the sake of not repeating myself, I do reread a lot. I will say I have reread The Hunger Games quite a lot of times. Too lazy to grab it, but I do have it, and it's one of those that I like to reread once in a while. And I like to rewatch the movie series once in a while. It's so good. Question number 8 is a book from a genre that you don't typically read. And for that, I'm gonna say Cultish by Amanda Montell, The Language of Fanaticism. This is nonfiction, and I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but basically this digs a lot into linguistics and how language is used to manipulate people. This is extremely good. And I think it's a good book for someone that doesn't really read nonfiction, because it's an easy read, and yet still informative. It's not dry, because I also have a hard time with nonfiction because some of them can be very dry and it's hard to read. But this is really good. I actually got this because of Mara from Books Like Whoa. This was like years ago, or maybe last 2 years ago or so. She's the one that recommended that, and I read it, and it's really, really good. And if you're curious about cults, obviously, that talks a lot about cults, but specifically the language that cults use to manipulate people. And then question number 9 is a book that deserves all the hype it gets. For that question, I'm going to say Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is a YA fantasy series based on King Arthur, the legend of King Arthur. Our main character, Bree, goes to this college and she finds out a lot about magic, and that's where I'm going to leave it at. It's extremely good. I have seen that got a lot of hype over on TikTok and also on BookTube when it came out, but I understand the hype because it's really good. Question number 10 is a book you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. Well, I kind of already answered this. I said Evelyn Hugo, but I will say I also recommend Circe a lot to my people that I know in my real life, by Madeline Miller. This is a Greek myth retelling of Circe, but it's also a lot about womanhood and overcoming your lot in life. And I thought that this was a really, really good book, and I like how shiny it is. One of my faves. That was question number 10. Question number 11 is a book that has your favorite characters. The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Amazing characters. Every little kid that lives in this freaking house is cute and adorable, but mainly I like the little devil character and the fact that his nickname is Lucy, and he tries to overcome his destructive nature, and it's adorable. Question number 12, a book that you wish you could live in. And this is hard for me. I still haven't picked a book for this question, but everywhere, a lot of the fantasy books I read, I wish I could live in, because it's just magical, But I'm gonna say a lot of fantasy worlds I wish I could live in. I'll just leave it at that because I honestly can't pick one. I can't pick one. Question number 13, a book you thought you would hate but you ended up loving. And I think I already mentioned this, but this is the one I can think of right now, and that is Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. I read this because I'm trying to get rid of my physical TBR, and I got it a while ago on a Barnes & Noble sale. I didn't think anything of it. Not that I necessarily thought I was gonna hate it, but I didn't think anything of it, and I ended up really loving that fantasy. It's a very good YA fantasy, a lot of politics, which I wasn't expecting because usually politics do not really play a big role into YA fantasy. Let's wait for the noise to go by. Okay. Question number 14 is a book that made you cry. I have answered this recently, but I'm not gonna say the same book. I'm going to say Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. That is a historical fiction about two sisters during World War II. I sobbed like a baby. And it's very good. Last but certainly not least, we have question number 15, a book you wish you could read for the first time again. Lots of books fall into this category. I actually think I might film a video about this, like books I wish I could read again for the first time. But for now, I will say, it's all the way up there and I can't grab it. The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Fantastic world imagination in that book, and every single part of that book that I would read, I'd be like, how does he think of this? How does he come up with these worlds? I was just mind freaking blown. I absolutely love that, and that is another book that I wish I could read over again for the first time. I'm done. Okay, this has been going on for way too long. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some new recommendations out of this video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Let me know down in the comments if you have any answers to these questions, if you film your own video, so that I can see it. I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Goodbye.